Hello friends, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a fan or a subscriber, welcome back. I really appreciate the patronage. Today I'm going to be talking about Satan and the Gospel writers. I did a background to this. Be sure to watch that before you watch this. Let's go! Luke radically changed Mark's account of Jesus' life, even more than Matthew. While Matthew wrote that the Jews lost their position of God's chosen people by rejecting the Messiah, Luke writes that God had always intended to offer salvation to everyone. He also makes explicit what Mark and Matthew imply, that there is a connection between their Jewish enemies and the quote-unquote evil one. According to Luke, Jesus, at the time of his arrest, accused the arresting officers of being allied with the power of darkness, or Satan. Luke also refutes allegations that Jesus was an illegitimate child, beginning his narrative before Jesus' conception to show the virgin conception. After Jesus' baptism, Luke portrays Satan challenging Jesus 3 times and Satan being defeated 3 times. After this account, Satan bides his time, waiting for another opportunity, which only occurs at the end of the book, when the Jewish leaders tried to kill Jesus. Luke conveys that Satan entered Judas Iscariot, who from that time forward sought occasion to betray Jesus. After this contest, Jesus begins publicly teaching. In this scene, Jesus enters a synagogue in Nazareth and read from Isaiah, which was well received. Then he tells the crowd that God intends to bring salvation to the Gentiles, even if it means bypassing Israel. Of course, the Jews were enraged and tried to throw him off a cliff. Jesus escaped, but the scribes and Pharisees are now after him. However, in Luke, not all the Pharisees are hostile to Jesus. Some even warn him of danger, while others play Satan's role in trying to kill him. Reflected in the struggles between Jesus and his followers and Jewish leaders is the war between God and Satan. When he enters Jerusalem for the last time, his disciples claim that he is king, and Satan finally sees his opportunity, because the chief priests and scribes sought to put him to death. Satan enters Judas, who converse with Jesus' enemies about his betrayal. John says that armed Roman soldiers participated in the arrest, but Luke only mentions that Jews were at the arrest. According to Luke, at the arrest in Gethsemane, Jesus identifies the chief priests, temple officers, and elders of the Jews as Satan incarnate. Luke contradicts Mark that Jesus publicly claimed his divine kingship at trial and asserts that he answers evasively. Which account is more historically accurate and what actually happened has been the subject of much debate. Catchpole argues that the Sanhedrin trial in Luke is more historically accurate, meaning that the Sanhedrin accused Jesus of claiming to be the Son of God. However, Raymond Brown disagrees, convinced that the titles of Messiah and Son of God emerged from the Christians later in time, not from the Sanhedrin. Luke asserts that the public proclaimed Jesus king, and despite the Pharisees' warning, Jesus refused to silence them. Mark alleges he made these claims for himself. Whatever the truth was, it mattered less to the Sanhedrin than the possible effects on the people gathered together for Passover. When Jesus' enemies brought him to Pilate, Matthew and Mark reported that Pilate was skeptical, but Luke said that Pilate proclaimed Jesus innocent. When the chief priests and crowds insisted, Pilate tried shifting responsibility to Herod. Luke also stressed that it was Herod and his men who beat and mocked Jesus. Luke also insists that when Jesus returned to Pilate, the people who had been protecting him now turned against him. However, when Pilate announces that he will chastise and release Jesus, the Jews cried, "Crucify him." The Gospel of John, more than any other gospel, pits light against dark, God against Satan. However, John never gives personification to Satan. Instead, he emphasizes that people play Satan's role. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you would like to know when I come out with new content, please hit the bell next to the subscribe button. If notifications are not working, I usually have something out every day. My Twitter, Discord, email, and PayPal are in the description, along with the source I used for this episode. Question everything and never be afraid. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, goodbye.